Hey, this is Kurt Graham. You are listening to the Making of an Exception podcast. Today, we've got a special guest, and I think he's one of the most interesting men alive. His name's Taylor Lewin. What's up, Taylor?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Taylor is a husband. Mm-hmm. He has a spectacular mustache.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not who I'm married to, though.
Okay.
No way.
Okay. Her name's Vienna, and she's a sweet lady. She's awesome.
Amazing.
She's amazing. But you are an audio guy, audio professional. So you do audio and music for a living. Mm-hmm. And somehow, for the last few years, I don't know how many years, you have survived. Not just survived, thrived, as they say, doing audio and music, which is amazing. You've been a co-owner of a studio. You're building a studio, you're entrepreneur in that you're starting multiple businesses. I think something I've learned from you over the last few years is just the drive to not only to continue to learn. You're always telling me about books, like, hey, have you read this book? Have you checked out this book? But entrepreneurial books. But you got this drive to learn, but also to look at different ways, like different streams of income, different ideas, collaboration. You're one of the most faithful dudes. You show up. One of the most hardworking guys. Anyways, this is a long intro to just set you up to say, I think you're amazing. And
you're amazing.
This podcast is the making of an exception, and I think you're an exception to the rule. That's why you're here. So we'd love to hear your story today. And let's just start by, a little bit more about what you're doing now, just in business world, as well as a husband.
Yeah. So I just celebrated my 6th anniversary.
Congrats.
In June.
We're on 6 as well. So.
Yeah. It's a party. It's fun. You know, we keep saying like the 6th year has been better than the first 5. We've really grown in our relationship this year, where I feel like we kind of have lost all the expectations we were told. Yep. But now we're able to just be like friends, like working together, you know, figuring out what marriage is, what our future looks like. It's been really good. But I feel like we're going to say that every year. Well,
that's great. Hopefully it gets better and better and better.
Yeah, it's like way better. Yeah, I
feel the same way. 6 years in, the first year was great. Mm-hmm. The second year was great. Third year, and we've had highs and lows, but it does feel like, when you're doing life with your best friend, and obviously living together, it's amazing. So it gets better and better.
Just don't be a dick. That's like the best marriage advice.
It's great advice. It's a good start.
Because it's like if you're selfish, then you're gonna ruin it for yourself.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so you're husband for 6 years. No kids yet.
No kids yet.
Do you have pets?
No pets.
All right. We don't either.
Yeah.
Just keeping it simple.
We always talk about this. Like, I'm like, well, if we get a pet, we might as well make a human, because a human could at least take care of us when we're older. But the pets are easier to leave with a babysitter. Maybe they're cheaper too, technically on the short term, but that gets into a whole world of things.
I feel like half this podcast could be sarcasm, because just when I'm with you, like, that's all I think about is just sarcasm. We could go back and forth with sarcasm all day. Yeah,
it's a love language.
But that's your reasoning behind kids or not having kids.
Yeah, now.
Or pets.
Yeah, like God's provided us with a lot of opportunities, and I don't want to have to rush home to take care of a dog. Because I want to be able to sit there, have those extended conversations, stay late, arrive early, and not have to worry about taking care of something. Yeah,
your entrepreneurial drive is going to kill pets.
Yeah.
So let's not do that. It's great.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
So
I love other people's dogs and kids, though.
Yeah.
I'm like, we love like buying presents for our friends' kids. Yeah. Because we're like, we don't have it right now, and we can afford this thing because it's fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yep.
And you're in the middle of a bunch of business change.
Absolutely.
And starting some new things, refocusing business. And so share a little bit about, where you're at now, what you're building currently.
Yeah. So what I'm building now is, the last 6 years I've been doing audio and music professionally. That's like essentially all I do. I worked 6 months at Starbucks, and the moment that I was making the same at the studio that I did at Starbucks, I quit Starbucks.
Done.
Yep. And because I hated being the cliche, college grad that works at Starbucks who wants to do music for a living.
I'm a huge fan of Starbucks, by the way. Just got to say that. And love Starbucks. Best coffee in the world.
Dude, iced coffee. I'm like, I I know people love cold brew, but there's something about because they brew it double strong. And as we were talking about before, I
Don't even get me started
lost
on the
count
iced
on the
coffee.
amount of coffee I had this morning, lost cups count. So yeah, did that. And then got connected to the studio, Humans Win Studio, with my friend Lance.
Northeast Minneapolis. We had a lot of fun. Recorded some artists that are like we did. I handled a lot of the business. I also helped jumpstart some people because I have more of a marketing business slant. Yeah, who are some of the people that you've been able to record throughout the years?
People. We work with a lot of Minnesota local bands like Haley Bonner. Step Rockets was a band that I they're good friends.
Yeah,
we worked with
great.
a lot. Then we did stuff like Strings for Bell and Sebastian. Lance is doing some new stuff for Dessa and the Doomtree crew and people from Rhymesayers. So kind of the whole Minneapolis thing. The Current plays songs from us that we had a hand in a lot. Then more recently, we've been working with this artist named Lissy. Who she's an awesome singer-songwriter. She performed on Twin Peaks a few years ago, and so a lot more people got to know who she was. I get through the studio. I ended up doing a music video for her. This was the funny thing that I just dropped in before we started this. But
you said you had a music video playing on MTV right now.
I think it's still playing, but it was so Lissy, Lance is working with Lissy to make all the music. I dabble in video, YouTube and everything. And she's they wanted a video, a cheap video, fast. And so we put together this thing. We got a player piano, programmed her song into it, and she sang next to it. I shot the video, kind of picked out the shots, and then finished it up. And she's like, yeah, give me these specs and whatever. And they were broadcast specs. And I was like, yeah, because she's an established artist, whatever it's going to go. And then the next week I see it was premiered on Billboard, online.
No.
Yeah. And I'm just what is this? This is crazy.
That is crazy.
And so I was, her album is called Castles. It's really awesome.
You now
she's
no
just the
longer
nicest.
dabble in video.
I do.
You're a video professional.
I do.
You got a music video on MTV, man.
Yeah, so I guess it's playing in there, which is hilarious to me. It's just with it just felt so hacked together, but I did it. I tried to do it as best as I could, and it worked out. But I was in Starbucks in Madison visiting my siblings last week.
Yeah.
And I heard her song come on the Starbucks radio. It's called Best Days. It's Best Days of Our Lives.
Sing it, man.
Yeah. No, don't. You don't want me to sing. But it was fun, so I texted her. I was like, hey, working here, I heard your song. Hope you're doing well. And so it was fun. She's wrote nice things back, but
oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're doing Humans Win, and locally in Minneapolis, one of the best studios that was here, and now that's no longer.
No, it's still going. I just stepped back from my position. We moved just because the building was sold out from under us. Because real estate prices are rising in the city, and there's
it still exists.
It still exists. I'm just doing less in that role. I still produce a few artists. But I have been moving into film and commercial work, and I really like that.
Yeah. What does that mean? So audio for film, audio for commercials. What is your day job like?
My day job always changes. I love being a part of the whole process. So I'm from anywhere on set, recording with a boom pole, the dude with the big fuzzy thing at the end.
Yep.
I've been doing that for the last couple of weeks, pretty solid. And then the polishing of that, the post-production, the mixing, this adding the sound effects, all that. And then I also compose the music for some spots as well, which is super fun. That's kind of how I connected with How to Make Everything, that show. But these last couple of weeks, so I guess the normal day has totally changed from studio life. 2 weeks ago, I was sitting at a US Bank Stadium recording the people who built all the dirt BMX jumps at the X Games, which are happening right now, which is funny because I used to be totally into BMX, and I realized one of the guys I was interviewing, I used to always be his character on Matt Hoffman BMX, and come to find out which was the Tony Hawk of
I know the game.
Yeah. And so I figure out that, and he's like, yeah, Matt learned how to ride in my backyard.
Can I ride on your pegs, please?
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, what? I was like, this is how did I end up here?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then this last week, I've been interviewing farmers for a booth at the state fair. So you'll be able to go in, and these are all the farmers who make the stuff for like Revival, Bachelor Farmer, Birchwood Cafe. So like all these trendy,
great local spots.
Yeah, that just like super fresh food. And so it was super fun getting to know them. And some of them were like heritage farms, which means they've been doing it for 100 years.
Yeah.
And so that's been fun. And then like during one of those shoot days, we shot in the morning, and then we shot like sunset for golden hour. And in between that, I had to polish up some of the stuff for the X Games, and I was like sitting in the car, like getting it done. And I was like,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
You're working hard. What was the statement you just said just right before we started recording about entrepreneurs? Because this is your life.
Oh, totally.
The life you're living.
Yeah. So an entrepreneur is somebody who will work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40.
Yeah. That's what you're doing, man. You're slamming.
I don't know why. But it's like, it's bad because it kind of, that workaholism that like was kind of reinforced because I just interviewed a bunch of farmers, and they have no choice. Like they're working day in, day out.
Yeah.
Like no holidays, no breaks. They have to do it. And so they feed us.
Yeah.
It's like, man, okay.
Yeah. Farmers are the backbone of
and
America.
I do come from like my grandparents lived on farms and stuff. So.
Yeah. Farm family. Mm-hmm. You're from Wisconsin.
Yep.
Grand old city of Green Bay.
Green Bay. Yes.
Green Bay Packer fan.
In the fair weather.
In the fair weather? What does that mean?
So if they're winning, I will definitely root for them. And
Got
I will
it.
rub
I thought
it
you
in.
meant if it's cold outside, which is all football season, you're not a fan.
It's all year in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Except this week. The last couple of weeks, it's been hot. But yep, from Green Bay. I played sports. I actually lettered as a football player in high school.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I played center because apparently I was good at blocking, and like everybody was like a foot taller than me.
Yeah.
And huge. And I would just like chop people off at their knees.
Hiking the ball, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was super funny.
Back to some of the business stuff that you're building, because
we keep derailing.
No, I would love for you to talk about a little bit of your upbringing and family, but some of the things that you're building. You talked about how to make everything.
Yep.
YouTube channel that you do some audio for, which is a really successful channel and has grown. You've also, and you can talk about that, you've also won an Emmy. And so what's the journey in audio, kind of winning some of these awards, but also getting spotlights on TV, commercials, film, all that? What's that been like?
Complete like providence. And I was thinking, so I turned 27 this year, and I'm thinking like the 27 Club, because I work in entertainment, and that's a real thing. And like, these artists, like some of my friends and artists that I work with, like it's a battle. And we lost Avicii this year, and like all these artists keep dying. Really young.
He was 27?
He was 28.
Oh,
but like 27 is like when Tupac died and when all these other people died. And one of my favorite philosophers died, which Blaise Pascal. I think you like him, Tissel. And
Tissel's behind the camera.
Yeah.
Shout out Tissel, the producer.
Yep.
I've never heard that guy's name in my life, just so you know.
Oh, he invented some like hugely important like triangle or like some geometry formula, I believe.
The musical triangle?
No, it's like called that one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really important.
Okay.
Sarcasm. But he was also a philosopher. Died at age 27. But like his philosophy is like been really important in my life, and like C.S. Lewis and that kind of like philosophical theological realm.
Yeah.
That's circling back to
how to make everything and winning an Emmy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I've been like really sentimental this year and like kind of tracing my path. But how to make everything and all of like my opportunities have just come from just like keeping a reputation of working hard, being trustworthy, being reliable.
Yeah.
Like how I met the How to Make Everything guys was I valeted in college. And everybody kind of knew me as like a hardworking, whatever. Like I'd do homework when we weren't doing it. So they liked me, tried to make friends, didn't make any like people hate me, like intentionally anyways. And so somebody I valeted with.
Did you say people hate you intentionally?
No, I try not to make people hate me intentionally.
Got it. Yeah,
which I feel like is like very bare minimum.
Man, I don't hate you. I love you.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. The coffee. But so I connected with my friend Kyle, and he was going to film school, and kind of helped him on like him and his friends like senior projects. And he was working on this thing called How to Make Everything. It was originally a documentary about this guy who makes a sandwich, Andy. And like from start to finish, like growing his crops, harvesting it, and then making a sandwich. And there's a video online, you can find it, how to make a sandwich, $1,500 sandwich in only 6 months. So I did the music, and I was like, hey, so Andy told Kyle he was looking for some music. Kyle's like, I know this dude, Taylor. He's awesome, works hard. You should give him a try.
Yeah.
So connected with him. Then the documentary got picked up into a local TV show. And we did 9 episodes, I think, on KSTC, which is part of KSTP. And I didn't pull any overnighters in college.
Yeah.
Until that, until I graduated, and then I worked on that show. And then I did I was doing working all night, once a week, because we had a tight deadline, and we hadn't, because the projects take forever, because the idea is to show how hard it is to have everything in our normal lives. And so spun around fast, got a huge crash course in doing audio for television and making music, because when I did the music, I was like, let me just do your audio. Because I want to make sure it sounds good, and just kind of latched onto it. I really like the idea, because I work on computers most of the time, and this is something real and tangible that I'm really fascinated by. So we connected. They liked me. They let me keep coming for the ride.
Yeah.
And that show, then that series was nominated for a regional Emmy, and we won 4 best series.
Wow.
And so. Yeah, so I have an Emmy with my name on it in my closet.
Nice. Keep it in the closet.
Yeah, and that also we won a Telly, which is cool. It's a streaming excellence thing. I think I can never quite figure out what it is, but if it's a little bit bigger deal than the level of Emmy we got, because there's 3 levels of Emmy.
Yep.
Or 4, and so that was super cool as well. Just moved into my new studio spaces with them.
Yep.
And they're just awesome dudes. Yeah, can't speak highly enough, and the project's super fun to be a part of.
Yeah, go check out How to Make Everything. The music you hear, you made it.
Yeah, it's all really boring music.
No,
it is. I made it so it's to help drive a documentary. So I always joke, I like making boring music because it goes behind stuff.
Yeah,
that's
underscored.
Yeah, underscore audio.
The business you're starting is called.
Yeah, so I finally got organized and moving everything I do onto the name underscore audio.
Yep.
So the LLC and stuff. Working on trying to create a cart-based site where I can sell my tunes that are more for that background role.
Yeah.
Because I also produce albums. I'm working on an album through a music publisher for Viacom, and so it'll be on MTV and stuff. But behind the Kardashians or whatever. But yeah, this underscore, it's more accessible. So my clients in audio can use it, and it's quicker, and I can edit everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of what you're really good at is building in systems as well as making money. It sounds funny to say that, but in the world of part of what makes you an exception is that you are, I said it earlier and I was joking, but I'm serious, that you are thriving in this industry by working hard, and you've found a way to produce income, multiple streams of income, and to be successful doing what you love. And it kind of sets you apart in that, it's paying the bills and more to allow you to be, you and your wife, to be the generous people that you are, and frees up your time, all of that stuff. How did you become so savvy, entrepreneurial, and I'm sure it's through hard work and a little bit of natural, but how did you become so driven, but not just driven, but effective? There's plenty of driven people out there that pursue things, even focused people, but somehow it's not effective in producing a return. And I know you well enough to know that your life's not about just the return.
Right.
It's about doing things that you're passionate about, and it's about
helping people.
Yeah, and helping people too.
Yeah.
So talk about some of those convictions that you and your wife have developed and how you're living your life, but how did you become effective in this field?
Pure desperation.
Yeah.
We got married super young. We were 21 and 22. The money we got from our wedding was about all we had.
Yeah,
and
you're just ripping open cards.
Yeah, because both of our
the honeymoon.
Yeah, we're good, because our wedding was a glorified high school graduation party.
Yeah,
it felt like it, and it was nice. We had fun with all our family, and everybody was so gracious. But it was the armpit of the recession. And so both of our families were broke.
You made it at the wrong time.
Yeah, absolutely. Economically speaking.
Yeah.
But no, it set me up for all these wins. And So like we couldn't, like our family couldn't support us. And so we kind of like, I knew it was it and it was on me. And I really took that responsibility. And so I was like, I can't do all like free albums for my buddies.
Yeah.
Like so we got married, we moved into an apartment, 400 square feet. You can see it in the back of a Mighty Ducks movie. In the Phillips neighborhood in the pond scene, like we're the red brick building. So we lived there.
Yes.
And,
somebody's sure
just,
gonna look
I had
that
a
up.
hustle. Like, so I worked 80 hours a week as a valet, like clocking that. Cause I worked, so the valet company I worked with like split into two and I kept working for both of them. So one I would work during the day, do homework. And then at night I'd go downtown, work a club until like 2 a.m.
Wow.
And then I'd go to school. So dumb. And I also somehow fit in like 4 internships in there. So my wife hardly ever saw me the first year of marriage.
Crazy.
She got a job at North Central, which is where we both went to school.
Yep.
And never met each other there. But yeah, it was like desperation. So from there, I just had to work hard because I was like, we have to make rent. I had to pay $1,100 a month to stay in school. And I had to do that because my parents couldn't help. Like they helped with they covered my phone and my car insurance.
Yep.
And then the rest was, I had lived with my grandparents a little bit and which is super formative looking back, spending time with my grandparents before they passed and learning from them. But yeah, I just knew it was on me and I had to provide and work really hard. And so I worked really hard at valet and finished out my degree. In that time, met so many people that have changed my life.
Yeah.
And just through that reputation I built as a valet, where I felt like I was totally wasting my time, I learned how to connect with people who were nothing like me.
Yeah.
And then at Starbucks, I learned even better customer service. They have this thing called latte, which listen, ask, thank them, something, and go the extra mile.
Thanks a latte.
Yeah, thanks a latte. I love puns. But yeah, and so that helped me. So now I had all these friends in these networks that I would never have naturally been in, and they were kind enough to bring me along, and so I kind of happened to where I am.
Yeah, great. Mm-hmm. How have you kept the drive that you had? It started out of desperation.
Yep.
In that you owned it, and I think it's awesome that there's plenty of people that don't arise to that occasion. I mean, especially the millennial generation. Not to slam us, but the number of people that move back in with their parents out of that desperation, and I'm not slamming that. Right. I think it's great that they have parents that would do that, and it sets them up better.
Oh yeah,
I'm not against that, but Same. You rose to the occasion and made it happen. Mm-hmm. That level of ownership. But now that you've built business and you and your wife are successful, meeting your needs, what keeps that same drive, that same hustle, especially in freelance world? I
kind of like a future focus kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to one of my old professors the other day, and he was talking about check in with 45-year-old Taylor, see what what is he going to need? And for me, kind of getting married and taking that really seriously and that responsibility, when I have a family, I know I'm not going to be able to work nights and weekends all the time. That's not healthy. That's not the family life I want. Yeah. And so a lot of my work ethic is I can put the time in now when we're flexible, so that if we, if and when we have a family, that I can be there, or we can do whatever we need to, because so we don't have to struggle. Yeah. Because it's being raised a pastor's kid, you saw people struggling all the time.
Yeah.
And, you're always with people at their highest moments and their lowest moments. Yeah. And, as a kid, I saw that. And so I'm I want to be, a part of it. And also, a help to those around me as well.
Yeah. So essentially you're working hard, extremely hard right now in a way that you wouldn't think is healthy when you have kids and building a family,
100%.
But you're doing it so that you can be present with your family when you guys get to that point.
Yeah, that's
awesome. How do you guys? This is a marriage question, which is great. How do you guys in the world that you're living in, and you do some travel as well? How do you guys stay connected as husband and wife, and not just roommates that you see, just briefly before we go to bed?
Mm-hmm. That's we're always figuring it out, but a large part of our relationship, as we were dating and got engaged, was long distance. So communication was something we kind of learned, early.
Yeah.
being, I pretty like reflective and
Yep.
like, and so just being intentional with how we communicate has been huge.
Yeah.
I know I'm not home as much as she would like. And, there's definitely seasons where it's really hard. But it's like, every time we move forward, it's like, we never thought we would have been here, like these opportunities keep showing up and we keep deciding like, let's just go for this.
Yeah.
So
I love that you're saying, together you're saying, let's go for this. And it's not just you making the decision, but in unity saying, let's keep working hard and just being on the same page. That's awesome.
We try.
Yeah. And same goes in probably every marriage where there's always this checking in with the rhythm of our life. Kaylee and myself having 2 kids now and being in ministry and a lot of times ministry is not just 9 to 5. It can
lifestyle.
be outside of, it's lifestyle. This is how we live. And I'm not like a martyr for that. I love it and it's thrilling and there's a lot of flexibility within it as well. But checking in with the rhythms of our life to make sure that our marriage is good and my presence with our children is good. I believe for myself that if my family is healthy, then that's only going to help me be more effective and better as a pastor and in ministry. I think every marriage kind of goes through those check-ins, and I think it's great advice too. Just what you said. You grew up as a pastor's kid. You just said it. And I love it. You grew up in Green Bay. We talked about it. But what was life like growing up for you in ministry? I'm also a pastor's kid, and so I think it's unique
also
perspectives.
Also a musical one.
Also musical. I'm going to sing a song right now. I'm just kidding. But what was your life like growing up?
I was the pastor's kid.
Yeah.
So, you're always at church early and always at church late. I was messing around. I always was the one who I'd figure out how to get out of something before I started it. Yep. So I didn't get in a whole lot of trouble, but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. I was the opposite. I took things too far always. I think a couple Sundays, I did a couple Sundays. I wore 2 pairs of pants to church because I just knew I was going to get a spanking. That was my life. I would just take things too far. I was in trouble at church.
Yeah.
Often.
Oh yeah. I mean, I got disciplined and it was usually for what I said though.
Yeah.
It was like less for what I did because.
Yeah, but you cut somebody in the heart with your words.
Yeah. Like like within a few minutes of meeting somebody, I had like the skill of like being able to know what their thing was and I could just rail on it if they yeah. That's like horrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. So my mother was like, I was like, Taylor, words are to help, not to hurt.
Yes, great.
And those words haunt me.
Well, I think you're a super positive person now as an adult, so it's awesome. Yeah. Encouraging, affirmer. So you're the pastor's kid.
Yeah, I was the pastor's kid. I did everything. Like I just tried not to buck the system because it always felt like too much work. I'm like an efficiency guy too. Yeah. So I'm always like, is this worth it? Like, what's the return on the investment? So which has helped me in business, kind of figuring out what decisions to make. But as a pastor's kid, I kind of learned how to like just make people happy, like that. Almost that customer service, like. Oh, I say like a lot. But just, being good to people, taking responsibility. And then I happened to be talented, so I got paraded around a little bit because musical. So I got involved really early, did the leads in musicals for church or whatever. And then went into doing the worship leader thing, picked up, doing music. My mom also has her like master's in education, so she kind of was able to see that in all of us and help. And then my dad was really good at giving us responsibility. Yeah, and so kind of through that, I didn't really buck the system too much, but felt the pressure of like, doing what's right and being a good person and the really basic things.
Do you feel like that foundation has carried through to who you are now? I mean, you do live a great life in the sense of moral ethics and all that. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is a lot because of the foundation that your parents instilled in you?
Yeah, absolutely. And like family legacy, we just got together with like my family, celebrate my grandparents' like 60th anniversary, and my grandpa's 80th birthday.
Yeah.
And it was just talking about the legacy of a family. And this week I've been thinking about this more because I worked with those heritage farms. I think that's what they're called, which are, they've been doing it for 100 years. And just like not wanting to let the people down in my life that are really close. And so taking that kind of seriously. And yeah, I was a normal kid. I got into trouble. I did things that I shouldn't have. But at the end of the day, trying to make sure nothing like set me back.
Yeah.
In a very self-preservatory way.
Yeah. What was your life like in regards to faith? Obviously, the uniqueness of being a pastor's kid growing up in the church, you were taught this way of living and this way of believing. And what has that journey been like to where you're at today?
It's been interesting.
Yeah.
Because being the good kid, but I was I did everything right, so I didn't get bothered by being in trouble. But not everything right, but we all know what I mean.
Yeah.
But like in ninth grade, and as I got to high school and I started thinking more for myself and being more of a thinker by nature, I started to question a lot of things. Just like really wrestling, like, is God real? Is this worth it? What is this? But at the same time, getting involved in church and having these experiences that I can't explain other than like God, like watching people get healed that I know had been suffering with something for a long time. And just these crazy experiences, whether it's at Bible camp or, just by changing habits of like saying thank you for like the stupidest things, but just like watching that change my life. Just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Just my question about it is, what you just said about things that you saw that you couldn't explain, it helped solidify for you that this was real. Yeah. But knowing you, I feel like you would be more of a logical thinker in that. And I think you mentioned C.S. Lewis earlier, that I think he tried to explain things in a logical way, like, which he did really, really well. Like, how could you not believe this? And he was able to explain it far better than my brain could ever comprehend. And so, but it's just interesting that the miraculous helps solidify it for you, and totally. Not just logical and thinking.
That became a huge part of it as I got older. So as I started to think for myself, I had these experiences, and then I started trying to think about them as I went to college, and really wrestled with them. But C.S. Lewis was a major factor because he was super intelligent, and like one of the questions I still have is like, how do intelligent people like believe in God?
Yeah,
like because there's a rational like argument, and there's a lot of thoughts that like I still struggle with because I'm like, if God's real, why does this happen? If he cared, why does this happen? But at the same time, I'm like, I work with filmmakers. I'm like, that has to happen. So this happens. Or like, so they can help this person later on.
You're talking about like the power of story.
The power of story. Yeah, sort of. But just those questions of still like, why do horrible things happen? Like as basic as that. I live in North Minneapolis, where there's been a lot of tension racially and just with authority and them just like, taking advantage of trust and things like that. And just like wrestling with that, like, why do these things happen? Yeah. And, is this actually real? Like, and C.S. Lewis is, like either Jesus was a lunatic, like completely off the rocker, or he was God, because he didn't leave any room for middle ground. And that kind of like keeps me hooked. Yeah. Like even when nothing else makes sense. The other thing like I can't get past is like a lot of religions in the world, like you can tell a dude made them up. Yeah. Like you're going to go to heaven and have a lot of sex. Yeah. Like, and that's paradise. Or like you get to just learn forever, which is also really like feels like I could have come up with that, or like in a little bit self-indulgent, and where I'm like, there's no way I would be like, yeah, I'm going to go worship something else forever. Yeah. Like, and I mean, my worst nightmare is that heaven is going to be like a church service.
It will be. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what it's going to be like.
But yeah, like, but just like having those experiences with God, kind of like, just like wrestling with those of like having, like, I can't explain why this happened or why these things lined up in my life when like there shouldn't have. Yeah. But
what do you think in your wrestling is God's response to that? Like, obviously you feel like there's room for that. Like, and I believe that too. I believe that there's, in this faith journey, there's room for, Doubting Thomas is a classic example, but there's other examples in the Bible of these people that are asking questions, and even logical questions. Like, a guy named Nicodemus in the Bible, he's like, how can I be saved? Jesus is like, you need to be born again. He's like, impossible. Can't be born again. I can't
crawl back in there and get out.
It's not going to happen, you know? So I believe that there's room for that. But what have you felt, if there's an kind of theme in God's response to you, because this is a relationship and God talks to us, and we believe that we can hear his voice through the Holy Spirit, through people, through the word of God. But yeah, what is the theme of his voice back to you as you wrestle that out?
Just kind of like the sense of like so for me, I like relate it to like a human friend.
Yeah.
Because that's the way he created it. Like, God's not just an author who wrote some words in a book through people. Like,
yeah, he's not just air out there.
Yeah. Like, if he is who he says he is, and the Bible claims and Jesus is, like, he's not just an author who wrote a book that I need to read all the time. He designed the world we live in. He he created human interactions, emotion, thought to try to give us a picture of himself and of the purpose of life, the reason we're created, how we're supposed to act in that. And just like, for me, like a big personal thing is just like the more cultures and the more people I can meet that are opposite of me, the more I can kind of learn what that truth is. That because just that huge overarching truth that doesn't matter the culture, doesn't matter the place, it's always like true.
Yeah.
And that kind of always hooks me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of always been that underlying thing. Like, there has to be something steering all of this.
Yeah.
And Jesus makes the most sense to me.
So that's what you feel like God's pointing to is like, look at these people who are so different than you, yet they believe in me just like you do, and it works. You're looking at the diversity, which is another interesting point to the fact that if the church is not good at building community with different people. Tissel was talking about behind the camera. He was talking about before this recording the Enneagram, and that he's a 5, and that sometimes in church he feels like he's the only 5 in the room. Except
I'm a 5 too.
You're also a 5.
We bond a lot.
Which I don't know what all those numbers mean, to be honest. And I'm a 3 though.
Yeah.
3 wing 2.
3 wing 2.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, if the church is not good at building community with a diverse group of people, like in every sense of the word diverse, then I think we're missing it a little bit, because that's what heaven is going to be like.
Like us white Americans who complain about what style of song we play in church. Like, a thing that I do, which is bad, is like very irreverently kind of bring things down to the basic form. Like, I like to think about like football and like how excited we get about sports. Like, what if it was all around a yo-yo? Like, and we watched all these like grown men and we paid them millions of dollars to chase around a yo-yo. Like, I think that's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But like, or church like being karaoke and a pep talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like, but finding like the actual meaning. C.S. Lewis kind of brought it all back for me, where he has this writing and it's all about tongues and how tongues is the weirdest thing. Like, there's evidence of other religions and stuff having this static speech, which it's called. But the reason that it exists in Christianity is basically just so it's weird. Like, and God made this, like, and to me on a human level, that really relates, because it's like, I like to do stuff that confuses people as a 5.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, which is like just a thinker, like an INTJ who likes to perform social experience sometimes. Yeah. But I'm like, that'd be funny. Like, he put that in there just to confuse us a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, but it's clearly not, like, it's not a live or die issue.
Yeah. It's not a salvation issue. I like it too, just because it's like a childish, it feels silly, but that's what you kind of have to get over yourself,
right?
Like, with that specific issue, you have to get over yourself, which ultimately makes it more about God anyways,
right?
So,
and the more people you experience with like the different weird things, like the more you catch those glimpses of of like what's actually meaningful and what like God actually created to, be there.
Yeah.
And also like there's, Tina Fey was talking about how a joke went over at like SNL writing room and how, the show was failing, but they brought in a more diverse background. And as they did, like jokes that had been kept getting pitched, like they were found, like people were like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
But because like the group was so like all white dudes who didn't have like a very diverse background, they like didn't understand. But like as a world, like we are so different.
Yeah.
But we all care about like those little same things. Like another random thing I learned at Starbucks was like I was working with all these like these Somali people who came over and escaped war.
Yeah.
Like I saw like the scars on their body, like their limbs, like they're missing limbs, and they're like, and they came to America to, find peace and safety, and how like, that's and cultural issues, which also make me wrestle with like what is this truth. But like at the end of the day, it's like some things like they're kind of meant to be confusing because we kind of need to not take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it does make sense. There's a saying of, if I knew and understood everything, then I would be God or equal to, and I'm not comfortable with myself being equal with God because I know who I am. I know my thoughts. I know my mistakes. I know my sin. I know my failure. I don't feel comfortable believing in a God that I fully can understand. The Bible says his ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And he sees things on an eternal scale that I see on a scale of 70, 80 years, maybe, and so for me, I'm actually okay. I'm okay not knowing the answer to every question or knowing everything about who God is. What would you say to somebody that is, maybe they grew up in the church, maybe not, but they wrestle with these questions? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why does God allow this? Why, some of them might.
Why are Christians so mean sometimes?
Yeah, why?
It's so terrible.
Yeah, totally. What would your encouragement or comment to them be as they wrestle through that?
I don't know, but God can handle it.
Great.
Like for me, a friend of mine died right when I graduated high school, and we had only become friends. I mean, we'd become friends for a lot of reasons, but primarily because we had the same birthday. And for me, college years, I learned how to I called it wallowing with God. Just because I was like, everything sucks. Why does everything suck? Why did this happen?
Yeah.
But I just knew that it was okay. And if God couldn't handle that, then why could he handle anything else?
Yeah.
And if it was true that he wanted some sort of relationship with me, he could handle that. I'd talk about that with my good friends,
Yeah.
And if he didn't create that relationship to mirror that, then what's the point,
Yeah.
And so just kind of really wrestling, and just whatever, if he's trying to be a good friend, he can take it and he'll be there.
Yeah.
And and sometimes you don't even have to say words.
Yeah.
And
you can just be, and and he's with you in that. Yeah. I believe the same thing. You talked about C.S. Lewis and some of the things that he said as a hook to, why you're able to believe. And, faith, even separate from what I was just going to say, is faith is, the definition of faith is believing without seeing,
Exactly.
So that it's believing without fully understanding. That's why we say leap of faith. It's like I'm jumping without knowing where I'm going to land. That is faith, and it takes faith. It takes belief. It takes stepping out into something, not knowing, but there is an assurance that comes with, I believe, the Holy Spirit inside. Anyways, you're talking about C.S. Lewis as some of the things he said as a hook to your belief. I think one of the things that helps me in my doubts and questions is thinking through the actual gospel, in that the world we live in is not God's design. Mm-hmm. This is a result of sin that entered the world because God gave us free will. I love, there's a thinker, and I'm not much of an intellectual, but I'll go there just for a second, and I'll probably botch it. But Ravi Zacharias, great thinker, great philosopher, theologian, he talks about, he answers some of this question in that the highest good is love. It's the highest good is love. But the only way for love to exist is that we would have a choice. Because it's not love if we're programmed to love, if that makes sense. And so God, so that we could have love, receive love, and give love, and to have this love relationship with each other and with God, he gave us all choice, which then comes sin because Adam and Eve made the wrong choice, and we all have. And so part of the world that we live in, briefly explaining just what keeps me is it's broken because I know my failure, you know?
We don't even measure up to our own expectations.
Totally. I know the kind of guy I want to be, and I fall short every day I go to Taco Bell. So it's for real.
After you talked about Taco Bell the other week, I literally went from church to Taco Bell.
Yeah, great. Just because that's you. You're like...
No, because that sounded really good afterwards.
Okay, great. I thought you were like, he's talking about not eating Taco Bell. I'm going to eat Taco Bell.
No, that did cross my mind though.
Yeah.
But Taco Bell is actually, by accident, like one of the healthiest fast food chains.
I've heard that actually. So I don't feel as guilty, but...
It's me rationalizing. So
it's healthy, but when you're doing 3 Crunchwrap Supremes and a chicken quesadilla, it really puts it over the top.
Yeah,
so.
I usually keep it like, to the basics of a hard shell taco.
Okay. That's not my life.
Sometimes with sour cream.
I'll throw a Baja Blast on there extra large and just chug it. So it's all good. But
non-sponsored.
I'm not sponsored by Taco Bell. Would love to be, but the gospel message of we screwed it up and God sent his son Jesus from heaven to earth. And if this actually happened, so if this is true and this actually happened, Jesus left his throne in heaven, came as a baby, lived this painful life in this painful world, didn't sin at all. He was perfect, the only one to live a perfect life, to die on a cross. This is getting super churchy. I'm just saying this is what helps me is, man, if that's true, then I'm in. I like outside of any other religion, any other philosophy or frame of thought, any other chance for eternity in bliss or pleasure. And it's not about pleasure for me. It's about eternity with God. That's what I'm looking forward to because of who God is. That's the God I want to be with, the God that sent his son. And when I was the worst, he died for me, I'm in for that, and if it's faith and I don't understand it all and I'm not all the way there, I'm taking a leap of faith with Jesus. That's the leap I want to take,
Yeah. It's like your good buddy you trust and go through anything with.
Totally. Yeah. I love your frame of thought. And I love the encouragement to people that may have questions, It's okay to have questions. Yeah. It's okay. I think the only warning that I have in any of this, or that I feel for myself. So you live how you want to live, to the people that are listening out there. But the warning that I have for myself is in my questions, just remembering that if God is who he says he is, he's the creator of the universe, and I should have some level of awe and reverence to that.
Right.
And not just live my life with these questions and back and forth, but to remember, man, if there is a God of the universe, he's the God of the universe.
Right. That's super scary.
Which is, but
so then
scary.
If you have like all that power and then he's also like, yo, dude, I want to come hang out.
Yeah.
Like, that's like Elon Musk asking you to, hey, let's go hang out on the spaceship for a day. Like, that's super cool.
Totally. Which the whole Thailand thing that just happened with those kids, he sent over a submarine. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like a little mini tube to save those kids.
Yeah. He might be taking that like Tony Stark thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
I think he's Tony Stark.
Well, the guy who wrote the part for Tony Stark, like the new iteration, did like go hang out with Elon Musk. He's another dude I'm like super into. I like reading biographies. Like Winston Churchill I got super into. He was really good at like, he'd prepare for spontaneous moments. Like he used to write his impromptu speeches, like while sitting in the bathtub and like waiting for those opportunities to come up and then just delivering just, like,
heaters.
Yeah. And,
nice.
And then C.S. Lewis is another one. I think I've read almost all of his non-academic work. Like, so I think it's like 30 books or something like that. And so he's amazing, especially like for somebody with questions.
Yeah.
Like him and his group of friends shaped modern literature and like film and stories in such a way. And one of his mentors like found Jesus through reading Charles Dickens, George MacDonald.
Wow.
And like, just like him, Tolkien, they used to get together, hang out, and they just happened to, change literature and fantasy and
the faith world.
Yeah. Faith world and literature. Just like by
culture. Culture creators. I think it's awesome. Here's a question for you that I think I've just battled less of. I'm just a kind of, I'm just in, I just believe this, I have questions. I'm not saying I don't doubt or I don't have questions, but a lot of me is just like, God saved me. I know what my life was like before him. I know what my life is like after him. And so that's enough for me to know this I'm in, but for you, in your questioning, and obviously you've developed convictions about the way you live your life and who you chose to marry and how you as a couple live your life, and based you've grounded yourself in a lot of the ways you live biblically. How do you live out your convictions, biblical convictions, in the world that you live in, doing audio, music, in the creative world, and spending a lot of time around non-Christians that don't believe? How has that, have you ever had challenges of like, man, it's kind of really sucked me into a lot of the negativity or the cynicism of church, or the just, man, what if all this is bogus, all that stuff? How have you continued to live the way that you and your wife have decided to live, working in the world that you work in? Not that the world you work in is like the darkest place of all time. No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's filled with
a great place,
a bunch of well-meaning people.
Totally. Yeah. No. I don't mean it.
No, I know, because like and that's a stereotype of like church judgment on like the entertainment
totally.
world. It's always a process. Like for me, I really resonate with like the way like Jesus is our advocate. Like it says, there's that verse, I always forget where it's at, but it says like he's praying for us. Like he's advocating to God the Father for us. Like, and for me, it's like when I'm working with an artist or whatever, it's like they are being so vulnerable and sharing something like that they hold so deeply in art, and trying to express these deep moments. Like, and that's such a vulnerable moment for most people. Like, and how do I help them like express that and continue their like spiritual journey that way?
Yep.
And also be there like when things go bad. Like, and just being like, because most people who record like music, they're trying to either process, like they're either processing something, celebrating something. Yeah. And it's those high times or low times that I kind of learned how to be around as a pastor's kid. Yeah. And just kind of like bringing, and just like being there. Like, and for me, I always, like, I know the right answers. Like, I don't, but that doesn't answer the question. When your friend's dead, when you're, whatever. Yep. Like, who cares then? Yeah. You're like, why is this happening? Yep. And so for me, like, in my business, besides just being super trustworthy, reliable, whatever, just being like that good friend. Yeah. Like, and that's really how I've landed on how I'm living out my faith, because I'm always working with people who have like, they grew up way different than me, or they had like way harder things to go through. And for me to say anything is usually inappropriate. Yeah. Because I don't know. Yep. And all I can do is ask questions. And like Jesus always asked questions. And I mean, for a different purpose, but like, just like, but he was always there. Like,
I think it's a similar purpose, to be honest. I mean, because he genuinely cared about people.
Yeah, he wasn't always like trying to like trick them into like, nope, right answer is this. Haha.
No. What if that was his voice?
Like the Mario, like
somehow, yeah. With your mustache is like Mario's. Right.
I was on a shoot the other day and this little kid said, "You look like Mario." Yes. I was like, oh, "Thanks, man. You're awesome." And I always find it funny, especially when a little kid says something really obvious, because that like is my humor.
It's right up your alley.
Yeah, it's right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I guess like that's kind of how, besides like the normal, like being super trustworthy, just reliable and following through on things, like, which, and then just being a good friend and just somebody who you want to be around. Yeah. Like Jesus was somebody who people wanted to be around.
Yeah, and not just the religious, churchy people.
Yeah, like those are the people who didn't like him the least.
Totally.
Like he chased them around a church with a whip because they were selling stuff.
Those are the people that murdered him.
Right.
So the people that loved him were the people that were not
They're
the
normal
religious.
people.
Yeah, not the religious, the sinners. And we're all sinners. But yeah, thank God. I feel like if Jesus was on the planet, he would have hung out with me because I'm a broken person, you know.
He would have hung out with everybody.
He would have hung out with
That's
everybody.
what the Holy Spirit's for.
Totally. And the Holy Spirit can do that.
Right answer.
I love that you said artists, you're in a world where you are with artists, and as people are sharing their art, whether it's through songs that they wrote, a story, like through a commercial or whatever, like they're putting out their ideas and it's going public in that moment. So before it goes to the general public, it goes to public to you, and you're in those environments where people are vulnerable. I think that that's one of the things that has set you apart in my mind, that there's a certain level of affirmation and empathy. Empathy might be the right word, but just like I've always felt like over the last few years knowing you, and we worked together for a while, that you've always, like, no matter where I'm at, if I've opened myself up in vulnerability about my upbringing or my faith journey or how I'm doing that day, it's kind of like you've always just been a guy that I know is like, you're like, oh yeah, like all good, like, yep. And it's kind of like there's a with you feeling, like that Taylor Lewin's with you, and I think that that's one of the most powerful things that can set you apart in the world that you're living in, is you're with people in the highs and lows, and might be because you're a pastor's kid, might just be because you're awesome. Yeah. But
I'm a big believer in like the Slumdog Millionaire life. Like everything's happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And you don't know when the moment's going to come.
Yeah.
Like it's all going to ebb and flow.
Yep.
Like a song. And it's going to, there's a moment where it'll matter. And I like that's like super meaningful to me. It's like nothing's wasted. Like I ended up with an Emmy because I valeted. Like that's not scalable.
Totally. Like you can't put a system around that.
Yeah. And even so there's this law, it's just like Jantehoven or something. It's this Norwegian thing where it's like,
bless you. God bless you.
Exactly. No, but it's like this funny, like not law, but it's like Norwegians, when you think about them, they're really reserved. They don't talk about themselves. And I'm a large part Norwegian. Yeah. And like kind of like I don't like talking about myself. Like this is really uncomfortable.
Totally. That's why I created this podcast.
Yeah, that's what you did. And just like the irony of that stuff.
It's awesome. What are the things you're thinking about for your future before we wrap up? Things, just future business, future marriage, family, the things that really matter to you in life.
Kind of everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
I like being like an open book about that if people ask. I don't.
Yeah, what are you dreaming about?
But what I'm dreaming about, I really want to build a big business. I kind of want to make a lot of money so I can help people. Like, I try to model that with the things I do have. And I hope one day I can do it with more.
Yep.
I really like, partnering with people who are trying to make things.
Yep.
As a husband and like having a family, I want to screw them up a little bit, like not too much.
Wait, your kids?
Just a little bit, like like I want to give them like the stuff that helps you be better.
Yeah.
But like I just like I want to be that advocate.
Yeah.
Somebody who says go try that because I know they'll fail, but they'll learn a ton.
Yeah.
But at the same time keep them safe so they're not hurt forever.
So they don't drown. Hey, learn how to swim.
Yeah.
I'm 6 months old.
Hey. The babies,
I've seen it. I can't even talk about it. I can't even watch those videos.
It's so hard. It's like
babies learning to swim.
Yeah, it's just weird feelings.
Anyways, I think that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I feel the same way. I want to raise my kids to be independent, like to grow up, to be able to be successful in this world, but also to know that I'm right with them, and I got their back. You know?
I hope they're way better than me at everything.
That's awesome. There's some parents that don't feel that way. They feel competitive with their kids, and to have that sending mentality and stand on my shoulders and be better is great. A couple questions as we wrap.
Yep.
What's your favorite book of all time?
This is hard. I just read a really good book that I think almost makes a spot. But so 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, classic.
Amazing. Stephen R. Covey?
I have no idea what the middle initial is.
Covey?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what that.
It was awesome. I just read this book called High Performance Habits.
Okay.
Which is similar. Like in structure, it's like 6 habits, but it's a little bit more of a way for like if you're already doing a lot.
Yep.
Like it's a way to kind of like recenter.
Yeah.
Where 7 habits is a lot of like balancing life, like creating the life you want, like being really intentional. And it's played a huge part of my life. And then this high performance habits has just been like helped me re-clarify that.
Yeah.
And just really as I'm in a season of change and like redirection, it's really helped kind of like draw my focus. I just read Deep Work as well, which is a really good one about focus.
Yeah.
But yeah, and those kind of played together. But high performance habits, I highly recommend if you want to do stuff. Like if you're an entrepreneur, if you're creative, it's great.
High performance habits. It's great.
I can't like give you the 5 big takeaways, but it's worth the read. It kind of helps you find your focus, why you're doing what you're doing. If you're like so busy that you don't know what that is anymore, and things like that.
Great. And one piece of advice for anybody following in your footsteps.
Work hard and make friends.
Great.
Yeah. Because you never know where they'll lead.
It's great. Taylor Lewin, I love you, man. Thanks so much for being on this podcast. Really wish the best for all your business, everything. Where can people find you online?
TaylorLewin.com is the easiest way to find what I'm up to. Kind of like post everything there in a hodgepodge. Otherwise, if you're on Instagram, the Taylor Lewin is where I usually hang out and post stuff like of my weeks.
Oh yeah.
And it's usually around music and audio. So
and a bunch of puns.
Yeah.
Your Instagram's
I didn't
filled
drop
with
any.
puns.
Yeah.
No, you didn't drop any in this podcast.
Yeah.
You got any?
No.
Okay. You're on the spot.
I don't want to be too podly in a podcast.
Okay.
That was really bad.
Is podly a word?
No, but it's like godly and it's like a Christian thing.
Yeah.
But
I'm not trying to be podly. This is a podly.
That's dumb. That does not work.
No, that's right. It's all good. Love you, man. Thanks for being here.
You too.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, we'd love for you to subscribe to this channel. We've got new episodes releasing every single week. We'd also love to hear your questions or comments. You can comment below. You can also find us on Instagram at Exception Podcast. And I want to give a quick shout out to our producer, Tissel. My name's Kirk Graham, and we'll see you back next week.